Hello, and in this video, I'm talking about how to hit your 90-day business targets, goals, and make things happen. We're in to the third day of January, and for a lot of business owners, coaches, consultants, you're probably reviewing, implementing the things that you've either planned before 2024 hit, or you're working on your plans right now. I know for a lot of people, the 3rd of January, a lot of people are getting back into work. I've already been speaking to clients yesterday, today. I've got more calls booked for tomorrow. And there are many questions that I'm seeing, both from clients, from people online. And the big thing is for a lot of businesses is making sure that you're staying on track. And if you did well in 2023, it's about doing more of that and growing. If you didn't quite hit your targets, then it's what do you adjust and what do you make, changes to in order to make sure that the results happen. And I thought, rather than just let these questions just linger, let me just answer a few things. I think it will be useful for a few people if you're watching, like to go through some of the things that I'm talking about. And it's more like a Q&A, having seen these questions and received these questions from clients. But if anything specifically you would like me to answer as well around hitting your business targets in 2024, especially in the next 90 days, just drop them in a comment and I'll come to them and make sure that I answer them clearly so that you guys get the answers for what you're looking for. So I guess just to make things easy, what I'm going to do is just share my screen. I've got a list here of a few things, like I said, that I've seen from a few people. I'll just make sure I've got my highlighter ready. And these questions, like I said, some of them came up from yesterday, today, both clients and people that I've seen online. So one of the first questions that I got, and this was a client question actually, is should I be changing niche? And this is a question that a lot of people often, kind of go over. And the one thing that I have as a kind of principle for me with regards to niche is that a niche can evolve because you evolve, meaning that perhaps your business or your service or your offer has changed, right? And who it's for has also adjusted. But usually you wouldn't go for like a 90-degree pivot out of one niche into another unless you were at, like, let's say, like a meaningful chapter in your life or milestone and you were literally changing business or business model. That does happen, but not as often. But the other change that I often see when people are talking about niche in particular, which is number one, is they haven't gotten results with the target audience that they were going for, and it's now seeped into their mind and got them to question their whole business, right? This is the niche change that I want to talk more into you about. I don't think it's healthy when you're jumping from one niche to the other. And I saw this question actually, I think it was today. I saw a lady posting a coaching group on Facebook, and she raised the question that what should she do around the content that she creates, because she doesn't have a specific niche or in terms of target audience that she's going for, and she has multiple products or offers. And I thought, again, it's another example of people not committing to a niche. And here's my answer, because I don't want to go on too deep. And especially if you've got questions around niche, guys, just drop them in a comment below and I will answer them. But here's my first take. Unless you've got solid data from your marketing and from your efforts to put marketing campaigns and advertisements together, how could you determine whether or not your niche is right? And I see people, coaches, consultants, business owners making decisions based on what they haven't sold, right? And I'll say that again. They're making decisions based on what they haven't sold rather than making decisions on the results that they've got from their marketing campaigns or their marketing efforts to then make a decision as to whether or not is there demand. Do I feel that the offer and the niche that I'm targeting is aligned to the people that I want to serve, because that's reasonable. But what you shouldn't be doing is jumping into a new niche because your marketing hasn't generated results or you haven't shifted the type of marketing tactics and strategy that you could be using. I'll give you a quick example. I was talking to one of my clients and we were looking at what are the different routes into his niche. And so what we did is explore, because some people just get, I guess, kind of filled with the glitz and glamour of people who are a success on social media, and they think that's the only way. And I can tell you, there's a lot of businesses that don't use social media, like in the sense of They don't use it as their primary way to get clients, and their businesses still generate multiple 6, 7, 8 figures, even more, right? So if that's the case, then it should also be something that we take on board, that there are different ways to get to our target audience, so long as we know where our audience hang out. And I would say to you, if you're thinking about adjusting your niche, fine, make sure that it's based on the results that you've got. So do analysis. Don't just jump into a new niche, because when you do that, it affects your offers, it affects your messaging, it affects a lot of things. And there's a lot of work that goes into adjusting niches. But the one thing that you can do, if you're upgrading your niche, like this is an important thing, is start looking at what other activity can you do to get out to your niche in the next 90 days. I'd even say in the next 30 days. Can you create a hot 100 list? Identify who are the top 100 clients you'd like to work with. If you're going for more individual or solopreneur type clients, then it might be a bit more difficult to say, hey, those are my 100 people. Then perhaps what you want to do is identify 25 potential people you've spoken to as leads, maybe 25 referral partners, people who already serve your niche that could introduce you, 25 either associations or magazines or companies that serve that audience, and then maybe another 25 of another group, maybe podcasters or blogs where your audience are probably consuming their material, their information. And here's the cool thing: you start to open up the possibilities of different routes into your market, different ways to connect with that audience so that they see your message and they can ultimately get to see your offers at some point. But what you don't want to do is just switch niche just because you haven't explored as much as possible different routes to your market. For example, I've had clients in the past where they've joined a Facebook group and their audience are there. Like, they're just there. I've had other people who they've had a referral partner and they've been able to get like literally 6 figures worth of clients from referral partners. I remember back in 2019, I had one amazing referral partner, and for 2 months in a row, we did over $100,000 in sales in 2 months in a row. And that was just from referrals, right? Strategic partnership. And so the point that I'm getting to is, before you make the decision to adjust your niche, start to look at what have you done to generate results, meaning generate leads, generate audience growth, generate conversions. Like, pay attention to what gets you leads. I'll show you here. Prospects and clients. Like, those numbers are your KPIs. Those are the things that are going to tell you whether or not your niche is the right niche and there's demand there. The next thing that you can look at is traffic sources. So this is number 2 that we're looking at. Traffic is how many people can we get to see our stuff, our message, our offers. And there's the obvious ones which you obviously come across. You've got things like SEO, you've got social media. Make sure I write that. You've got advertising. So, this can be paid ads, on and on and on. There's things like search engine marketing. So you can market on search engines, which, can also overlap with ads. There's different things like appearing on podcasts as a guest, right? But the one thing that you need to look at with your marketing, it's okay creating content, putting it out on places like TikTok, YouTube, and so on. That's a source of traffic, right? But what you also want to look at is, can I get a source of traffic where I know my audience are consuming or in front of that traffic source? Meaning, if I go onto these platforms or if I'm in this place, that there is a strong chance that these people are going to see my marketing message, my campaigns, and so on. And I see so many people who just become reliant on one way. Again, I was looking in another group not long ago over the Christmas period, and I was reading this post, and this woman put in there that I launched my coaching business like 8 months ago. I launched my coaching business a couple of years ago, and I've got 8 months to make it right, because what I want to do in the next 8 months is start a degree in September. This is 2024. And I thought, that's interesting, right? And she put, I invested in courses, I invested in mentors, and blah, 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 blah. But what I didn't see from her is, what she attempting to do different. And one of the big things that you can do, guys, in terms of hitting your goals, is to get in front of the traffic. Don't become with what you're used to marketing on. For example, you might be marketing your business on LinkedIn. Like, how long will you keep going before you start to see traction, right? And I ask this question in a kind of rhetorical way, because you see a lot of influencers who say you've got to be marketing your business for at least a year and be willing to go for a year so people can see your content, consume your content, basically become reliant to know that you are consistent and you keep showing up. But how long can you really go before you start to get the kind of results or even get clients and think, this is worth it? I'm a big believer in you shouldn't wait, just to keep publishing content for a year. Here's the kind of switch or the way that I frame it. What I do believe, and I'll just make this a bit smaller. I believe that as you're pursuing your goals and putting content out there, your marketing content to let people, make people aware of your brand and, show them that you have solutions in your messaging and your content, it should be fueled by your vision. So your willingness to show up 12 months from now, a year from now, 2 years, 3, 5, that should go without saying. But what happens is people aren't fueled by their vision. They're fueled by the result or the goal, and they make that their reason why. And the thing is, if you want to be in business, you've got to think long term. That, sometimes when I look back and think, what was the switch for me? Why do I wake up in the morning? Why do I just go? Why do I want to make more and do more and help more people? And as I'm saying that, that's the reason I want to help more people. I know I have the gift to help. I know I have the gift, as part of the genius and the skills that I bring with marketing. I can look at a person's business and a person's strategy, and I can put them on the course for 6 to 7 figures, right? Something I've developed over time. Whereas a lot of people are looking at their marketing and thinking, can I get a client today? Can I get a client at the end of the week? And it really isn't about that. And if you start to look at what sources of traffic can I get my message in front of, and I will show up regardless, but I'm focused on getting results, meaning leads, prospects, and clients, and I'm not going to have to wait a year before I get a client. Like, that's the key thing. There's a lot of businesses where I've seen them literally come out the starting gate and they're doing 5 figures in 30 days, 5 figures in 90 days, having set up their business. But obviously they've come from a background where they have certain experience to help them get there. But the point I'm getting to is that I've also seen businesses where they're struggling. They're generating like 1,000 to 2,000 a month, and they can't get beyond that. And they've been in business 2 to 3 years. So what I'm saying to you is, don't just do things just for the sake of other people are saying it. Do things, but also hold yourself accountable to whatever the goal is. Think of an Olympic athlete. They set their sights on specific goals, whether that's time goals, whether it's achieving certain success in competitions, getting to national championships, international, and then Olympics and world championships. That's how you've got to look at your business. Your business is best placed when there is positive pressure applied to you, meaning you put deadlines, you put dates in place. It's not, I do marketing as and when I feel like it, right? It's, I'm putting these deadlines in place and I'm putting these goals down so that I'm working towards something. And I've always found that if I have a deadline and if I put the pressure on myself, then I'm working towards something. When there is no deadline, when there is no date in my Google Calendar, when I haven't got campaign set up for my team to know when we need things done by, you can have a guess what would happen, right? Because I've experienced that where there is no specific dates. We're just marketing and like everything's humming along, but we're not really going. And that's the one thing I'd say to you guys, like really focus on, what can you do to get in front of the right traffic, but have a focus on getting results. So let me move on to number 3, guys. Oops. I don't want to scribble that out. I want to highlight. So the next thing is leads. And this leads me on. Once you found your sources of traffic, whether it's LinkedIn, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, Instagram. My wife's actually doing really well on Instagram at the moment. We were reviewing one of her results from a campaign she ran in December. It was literally like, I think it was on the 21st of December. And she was able to generate, I think it was like 25K. Yeah. It was off the back of a week's planning, right? Just to give you some context. But the point I want to get to is she creates content that generates both an engaged audience, but gets hands raised, meaning people put their hands up and say, can I have access to that? Or can I join the webinar? And that's what she did. She was able to get people to a webinar. And I'm sharing this with you just for context, that your job in business is to generate leads, because leads is the first sign that people are interested in whatever it is that you have. And there is an argument here, there's qualified leads, there's people who are requesting free stuff, or should you go straight to people who buy a small ticket thing, like a low ticket thing, anything under $100, let's say. Now, what I would say to you is that when you generate leads, the more that your content speaks into the niche that you can help, the more your content qualifies people, meaning, for example, if you were a life coach, you may say, hey, And I'll just give you a quick example just so you get some context. Maybe you've produced a 3-step method to help business owners who are running £1 million companies, right? So the content that I've just shared with you, like the target, qualifies the kind of person that we're targeting. And again, you can do this through your content, but a lot of people think, I don't want to go niche and I don't want my content to be too niche because otherwise I'll miss the potential of selling to everybody. But not everybody's your customer. Quick like example, like my target this year is not to have 1 million customers. I want 71 clients this year. That's it. Right. But that 71 clients would be responsible for me generating 1.4 million pounds in sales. And I'm sharing this because I want you to understand that the more specific your content speaks into the pain and the desire of your niche, the more likely is you're going to attract the right type of people. And there's ways obviously to attract people. One of the things I'll share with you is tell more stories, guys. If you've got an offer, base your offer around stories, around the transformation your clients have already achieved, or base it around third-party stories, or use different angles to really focus in on different topics. For example, if you've solved one particular problem, can you break that problem down into 3 or 4 pillars, like 3 key steps that when those steps are solved, that problem is obliterated and a person moves towards their desire. Start to focus your content around core areas because you'll become an authority as people see you speaking about this thing time and time again. And the repetition of you showing up and the more that you sharpen your saw, meaning you get better at telling the stories, you get better at sharing the methods of how people take the next step. Right, the more people notice you. And here's one thing, and actually a client raised this. I was speaking to them yesterday. He's about to hold a webinar in the next 2 weeks. And he said, Leon, but in the webinar, I don't want to reveal too much of the stuff that I offer people when I coach them, because then they're not going to buy my offer. And I said, you've got your webinar all wrong, right? And I see this as many people make this mistake. I see lots of coaches and consultants, and not just with their webinar, but I want to share with you with your marketing. You see, the job of your marketing is not to teach, it's to educate and show your clients, or not your clients, your audience, your niche, that you understand them from a place of empathy in terms of what their problem is and what their desires are when that problem is solved. That's your job of marketing. You can only persuade when you show people that you understand point A, where they are, and you understand how to go from point A to point B, where they want to be, what they desire, what they want. That's how you demonstrate transformation, because that's what people buy. They're not buying, hey, buy my coaching program and buy my consulting services. They want to know that actually there are other people like me, or they want to know the way that you tell your story. They want to understand your values and the way that you deliver. And that's the key to generating leads with your content. So moving on to step 4. And remember, guys, I'm just talking about some general things that you can do in the next 90 days. I say general, 7 specific ones. But if there's anything that you want me to cover, if there's anything you want me to answer around what you're doing in your business right now, and you'd love that question answered so that you can make sure that your 2024 really does start off with a bang, just let me know in a comment below. So let me move forward onto prospects. If you're unfamiliar with the term prospects, it's very simple. You attract leads, people who say, yes, I'd like that thing, or they've registered for your freebie, your guide, or your webinar. Prospects are the people that you're actually asking questions with. You're going back and forth with them. And what you're doing with a prospect is qualifying, meaning that you're figuring out, is this lead somebody that could potentially buy from me, either now or later on down the line? So a prospect is somebody that you've actually asked a few questions around. And the best thing to do, guys, to, I guess, save you frustration is the more that you understand what you need to have answered early on, the more easier it is for you to qualify the right people onto the next stage. So, for example, if you attract people on social media, there's a good chance that you're going to end up in DMs with that person. And when you do end up in DMs, how do you know whether or not this person is right? Well, you're going to ask them questions, right? And a lot of people, when I see them first get into this as business owners, they kind of let the prospect lead the conversation. Whereas what you've got to do is be ready. So if a person approaches you and says, hey, I really love your content, then, you might ask specific questions around, like, what is it that you like specifically? Is this something you're looking to work on? Is this a problem that you've experienced and you'd like to get beyond that? Right. So I give my clients something called a confirm by chat script, and it's basically how to sell in DMs, right? Sell by chat. But the more that you understand that it's your job to qualify your prospects in a number of key areas, the more you're going to end up on sales calls or people buying from you in your DMs, because you're actually speaking to the right people rather than wasting your time with people who just want to pick your brains. And we've all been there, right? People just want to pick your brains. Hey, can we jump on a quick call? I'd love to pick your brains. And you might be thinking, hey, this may be another sales opportunity. But if you've been in the game long enough, you know it's not. It's just a waste of your time. So a couple of things that you can use to qualify prospects if you are speaking to people in DMs. Just ask them an opening question. For example, I ask, what type of coach or business owner are you? It's a very easy one. What is it that you need to know about your leads so that they become prospects? Like, what's the first question you want to ask? And then ask another question after that by giving two answers. So you'll ask them, so is it this or is it that? And I usually say to people, so do you coach or consult one-on-one, or do you do it in groups, right? And what I'm doing is building up a mental picture of how their business works so I can help them with marketing, right? And you can do the same thing, guys. And here's the cool thing. Most of the time, I don't do this anymore. My VA does it. So what actually happens is you start to build up systems that your team can run, which is actually something we'll talk more about in point 7. So prospects, make sure that you understand what it is you need to know to progress people to the next stage of either joining you on a strategy call or qualifying call, application call, or whether or not you're going to show somebody the offer before they join you on a call. So that's another thing. So if any of you want free resources with any of the areas that I'm talking about today, or any of these are more important to you, like, you know, the DM script I just mentioned, just comment below this video. So if you like the DM script, or you'd like to learn how to generate even more leads in your business, just comment leads, comment prospects, and I'll know what it is that you need. And I'll reach out to you after this live stream and send you the free download links to some of these resources that I have. So let's look at sales. Okay. So if you want to hit your targets, let's be real. Running a business is about sales, right? You can use all the kind of purpose-driven, that my business is about serving people and blah, blah, blah. Well, you got to sell to them in order to serve them, right? And then you got the other people who say, well, yeah, you've got to serve them first in your content. Let's just agree that we've done the serving. If you're going to sell, a person is going to sign some type of contract and pay you, right? The biggest thing that I see with a lot of businesses that I challenge when it comes to sales is the confidence to sell. People just downright don't like selling, right? And I see this quite a lot in business owners. I've seen this in business owners who are doing like 15 to 20K a month, and they do it because they're confident with selling low ticket. But when the price creeps up a bit, or they get into a sticky situation with objections when they're selling, it kind of triggers them. And the thing that I would say about sales is very simple. The more you sell, the better you get, to a point. It's just like an athlete. When you're selling, what you also need to have is outside feedback. So one of the things that I do regularly to my clients is challenge them. I'll say, send me your latest sales call so I can review your performance. And this is the one thing that you should look at like an athlete. And I say this because I've got the same as well, where I've had my coaches review sales calls, and it's very important. Unconsciously, the way that we operate as human beings, we'll do things that we're not, even aware that we do. We just do it by default. It's like our habit, right? And unless it's pointed out to us, a lot of the times we keep doing that thing, right? And sometimes the things that we do could be preventing the very things, the outcomes that we want. And especially in selling, sometimes we'll get asked a specific objection, and that might be the one that you always kind of lose the sale on. And my advice to you is, when it comes to selling, is get your sales reviewed. If any of you actually have any sales calls coming up, and you don't land them, and you just want me to do a free review for you, just send me a DM, guys. Just reach out to me and I'll do you a quick review, just to point out the obvious things that I can see that you're not doing well. I do have a sales script as well. So as I said, on all of these 7 points, I do have free resources to help you. So if you want a sales script, I'd recommend that you actually work from a sales script, or improve the way that you sell by starting to document the process. And the reason for that is very simple. Some people who say you shouldn't have a sales script, here's my take on that. Would you say to a Hollywood actress or actor that they don't need any type of script to appear in a movie? No, they need a script, because they need to understand what it is that they need to say, until the point that they just make the role their own, right? It's the same with sales. The more you do it, the more confident you get. The more you do it, the more you remember. And the more you do it, the more you understand exactly what it is that you're focusing in on, and what works for you in that process. And that's what it is, I find, for sales. It's your ability to understand how to walk a path of mutual agreement with your prospects so that when they see whatever it is that you're presenting as your offer, they're just ready to buy. And the more that you qualify the right prospects on step 4 that we've spoken about today, the more you'll end up on calls with the right people rather than people you're trying to convince to buy from you, which is the wrong thing altogether. Sales. There's a very simple process I'd like for you guys to take on board as well. And you're probably doing this if you're in business right now, and it works really well, especially if you've got a team. What you can do is, rather than try and sell to everybody on one call, you can qualify people on using a 2-step process. And I'll just switch a pen on and just make sure we're highlighting this here. So I have a 1 and a 2-step process. And so the whole point is, on call 1, you qualify the right people. So I'll put qualify. And on call 2, you close. All right. And there's different ways to do this, guys, but this process has worked time and time again. And why does it work? Well, if there's only, a few of you in terms of your business and your team, you might have somebody running the qualifying calls for you. And then those that are qualified then join you perhaps as the main salesperson, or maybe you've got an external salesperson who then join a closing call or an application call, right, to buy into whatever program or service that you offer. And this works really well. And I run this process and have been running it for years, and it really does work well because you qualify the right ones in a 10 to 15 minute call, sometimes 20 minutes, depending on, how fast you speak or how well you handle that agenda on the call. And then call number 2, you're now speaking to the right type of person that you actually want to sell to and they actually want to buy. And so it's very simple, very straightforward. And as I said, the more you sell, guys, the better you get. Going back to the story of when, I did 6 figures before, back in 2019, when I did it for 2 months in a row in sales, first time I'd done it. That was all because I was just very confident in selling at that point. So when I had the referral JV partner just pushing people to me, it was very easy to qualify the right ones and close them on the next call. Right. Number 6, clients. Okay. So moving on to clients, then how can we get more clients in the next 90 days in 2024? Well, the clue is in these steps here, right? Steps 1 to 5. We've got to be clear on the niche because that affects our offers, our messaging, the traffic. It affects the leads that we're going to generate from the content. Also the prospects and understanding who we want and who is actually a fit for us, right? And then finally, sales. Now, if you're thinking, I'd love to have 10 clients, let's say you just sell like a £10,000 coaching or consulting program. You want 10 clients, you want to do 6 figures in the next 90 days, for example. You can't just say, I'm targeting 10 clients. The better thing to do in order to hit your goals in 2024, and I think this is more useful for people than a lot of people give this credit for. What actions have you got to do in steps 1 to 5 in order to make sure that you can target an outcome of X clients, right? That's the key. And let me just put this on screen so you can see here. Yeah. So if you wanted to hit, however many clients, 10 clients, 100 clients, it's probably going to be more like 10, but let's just call it 10 for now. It's important you're focused on what actions are going to lead you to those clients. There's no point in saying, I'm going to get, for instance, 10 clients in the next month and you've got 0 leads or prospects. You've got nothing in the pipeline, right? You really have to focus on what actions are going to get me the next step before. Meaning, if you want clients, then you've got to be booked in for sales calls. So let me just highlight so you guys can see. So for example, I'll use a yellow. So here, sales, I'm just highlighting underneath, right? That's how you'll know whether or not you're going to be on target for clients, because you probably got sales calls booked. If you don't have sales calls booked, then do you have prospects that you're speaking to? You might be speaking to prospects on email, in your DMs, right? Maybe even phone, right? If you don't have prospects and you're still saying, I want to get clients, well, then the next step is, well, how many leads are you able to generate from your content or ads or the campaigns that you're running, right? They always say success leaves clues. And in business, these are the clues as to whether or not you're going to hit your goals, because you start to make this more strategic. You start to make it logical in the sense of, let's go backwards in the sense of reverse engineering our way to the outcome. And then if you aren't generating leads, then I would say to you, where are your sources of traffic, right? Where is your traffic coming from? If you don't know where your traffic's coming from, That's probably part of the problem. And then if you're not generating enough traffic, for those of you, let's say, starting out, or pivoting, then you might want to look at your niche and find out, where do my niche hang out? Because that's going to give you a clue as to where your traffic sources might be, right? So that's how you work your way up to clients. Yeah. So final one, guys, and this is scaling. So if you're in business, you're established, things have been going pretty well for you, and you're looking at the next level. The next level might be 10 to 30k a month. It might be 50, it might be 100k a month. But the next step is scaling. And for me, scaling is all about systems, team, and how we can get more traffic, right? Systems, so I'll just put this in, team, and I'll just say here traffic, and then I'll take you through each one, and that will wrap up the 7 steps I wanted to go through today. So systems are all about, what are the processes that you have in your business, right the way from your marketing, generating leads, right the way through to sales, operations, whether it's delivering coaching, consulting, or some type of service-based business, your accounts, your bookkeeping, the way that you keep on top of the admin. All of these are a process in your business, and each process really is a system, right? So in my business, I have, I don't know, somewhere in the region of about 20 systems, and the majority of the systems actually are in the marketing department, which, go figure, right? That's what I love to do. So systems, the easiest way to create a system is to document it in a Google document. And so what I have is one Google document for each system in my business, whether it's sales, whether it's accounts, whether it's marketing like Facebook ads, YouTube ads, organic marketing, creating content. I have it documented. The process of my appointment setters, the process of sales, script 1, script 2, all of this is documented. But the systems are important because the systems are what allow you to get out of what's perhaps in your head down on paper, so to speak, so that people can, when I say people, team can be hired to run the business for you. There's a quote that I like, which is, a business is a commercial, profitable organization that works without me, but it can only work without you if you have systems, right? If you don't have systems, how would you expect people, i.e. your team, to run it to either the same level, the same quality, the same service level, right? Without you being there. And if you can't say that and can't do that, and you're a believer in, well, if I'm not involved and I don't do it my way, it will never be a success. That's your first problem, right? You're the bottleneck. You believe, and you create this belief that you're the only way that it can be a success, which is false, right? Look at Walmart, Asda, Sainsbury's, any of these big companies. They don't operate on one person. They have thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people in their team, right? So systems are your first step. And a good book to read on systems is The E-Myth Revisited. It introduces the concept of the technician, the manager, and the visionary business owner. I was just looking around to see if I got a copy of my own book on my desk. It's something I speak about in my own book, More Leads, More Clients, and something I'd recommend you guys to take a look at. And once you've got systems, then you need to hire a team. The first hire in any team, I always believe, is some type of admin. You want your team, you want to hire them so that you buy back your time. That's the key. Team isn't to take up a job or a task for you. It should be, when I give that person this particular role, will it buy back my time as the business owner? And that's where most people go wrong. They look at it from, oh, if only I could get somebody else to do this for me, and then I wouldn't have to do this thing that I hate doing. It's not about that. It's, if I can get this person to buy back my time, what else could I do to make even more money and do the things that I want to do in my life, right? So it might be that you want to use that time to grow your business, or it might be, I want to use that time to grow my business and to start doing more fun things for myself, my family, or whoever, right? And so team will allow you to do that. And then the final one I want to touch on is, well, now that you've got systems, you've got team running it, you're going to need to feed the beast, right? And so the next thing is, how can I manage driving more traffic into the business? And traffic is usually, how can I get more eyeballs, more buyers? And the key here is, perhaps you want to drive more traffic through to your business through JV partners, paid advertising, other ways to generate, traffic. That's the key then, because then you can control the flow of your growth. And the more predictable you become, the more that you can obviously plan for the success of where you go next, whether you're scaling to 7, 8, 9 figures, wherever that goal is for you. But by having these things in place with systems, team, and traffic, it will give you much more power in where you go and where you grow. So hopefully, guys, those 7 steps have given you some insights into what you can do in 2024 in the next 90 days. The one thing I can say to you, and it's very simple, guys, depending on where you are, any one of the 7 things that I've spoken about today off this list are going to be more important to you than others. And if you really want to go to that next level, get somebody who's got an outside view into your business, like a mentor or coach, or just even another business owner at the very least, somebody that you can trust. And I say this because, quite often we get caught up into our own world. We're looking for success, but we never go outside of the box of us. We never go outside of our own mind. And sometimes we need to be pushed. Sometimes we need to be challenged. I say sometimes, quite often. But the more you can open yourself up to that, and you can see that, there is a bigger picture that perhaps you're not seeing the whole thing in because you're in the frame and you're not seeing the picture, the more you'll create the opportunity for you to go to that next level. And I think that's it, guys. 7 steps: niche, traffic, leads, sales, clients, and scaling to that next level. If any of this is a challenge for you right now and you want some help, just send me a DM and I can send you some information on how I help coaches and consultants to do that. And on that note, my final thing is, if you want any of my free resources for these key areas I've spoken about, let me know in the comment below. Other than that, here's to, big success in 2024 for you and your business, and I'll catch you on the next video. Bye-bye.